a new chat on this one. You like it? Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Wee woo, wee woo. Yeah, you have two cool tiger icons now. Hurry home, then drive safely. Today I'm in that weird mood that I was in when I started streaming yesterday. I don't know what the heck is wrong with me. It's like I'm anxious, but I don't know why I'm anxious. I don't know why. I'm hoping that reading will get rid of it, though. Hoping that it will get rid of it. So, hi Gibbons! I'll probably take off my Snuggie after the first chapter that we read. What do I have to announce today? You've been EP? I've been EP too. So, today's stream is gonna be shorter. I'm going to only be streaming till 5 my time. So that's 2 hours from now. But that's because, at 6 o'clock, I'm gonna start stream again, and we're gonna be playing Dead by Daylight, I guess it's called? Yes. With some people. If everything works out, and I think it will work out. I'm hoping at least. So, yeah. Hopefully that's all good. And then we'll play for a little bit, and that'll be that. So, I'm gonna start pretty quickly because when I'm feeling like all funky wonky, and two, we don't have much time. I have to get through 100 pages. Oh my god, I forgot. I tried to get through 100 pages each time. Okay. I'm so yawny. Why am I yawning so much? I'm gonna take off my Snuggie. I'm already hot. I think like the second I start talking, all of a sudden I get hot. It's like all my energy suddenly gets consumed into hotness. Perhaps I am EP as well. You know what? Maybe it's... I don't think I've been eating well lately, so that could be linked to it. That could be linked to it. Alright. So what happened last time? Last time, we're on chapter 6. What even happened last time? So they left Midnight, who is a badger. The traveling cats, at least. So the traveling cats left the badgers. They were given the choice to going through the two-leg place again, or to climb up a mountain. And someone said that the mountain looks like it'd be faster, so they decided to go the mountain. Except it's like really high. And they kept on going to dead ends because they didn't know which way they were supposed to go, and the mountain's like weird and stuff. Eventually they found like a little... Oh, a hawk almost attacked them. Eventually they found like a cool waterfall, and then they were like gazing at it, and then there was like a flood or something, and they all got washed into the waterfall. And that's where they ended last time. On Leafpaw's side... on Leafpaw's side, they The last book ended with them discovering the two-leg monsters mowing down some trees. And they saw that in Shadow Clan there was also some tree mowing involved. So Firestar decided to take a little patrol and go talk to Shadow Clan and be like, hey, we need to work together to solve this mystery about the whatever this is. And then Blackstar was like, no, you suck, get out of here. And so they went out of there, and Firestar was pretty sad. But then Leafpaw was curious if maybe other clans were going through the same sort of thing. So she snuck out with, I forget who she snuck out with, Sorreltail maybe? I don't know. She snuck out with somebody. They went to Wind Clan. They saw that there was some monsters on the field, I believe, and then they got caught by a patrol. They got chased out of the territory, and then Mothwing helped them? Yes, Mothwing, the River Clan Medicine Cat apprentice, helped them out, and they kind of talked a little. Mothwing was saying, thank you for the pity. Whoa! Big star. 606. Oh! 4 bits. Ooh, look at that. Fancy. Fancy. Want more stars. Apparently they only, I think you have to do 1. Yeah, like that. Wow! Wow! Stars! We got a bunch of them. Thank you, Pride! So, I think that was the last that we heard of Leafpaw after they found out that something sussy was going on in Wind Clan as well, but River Clan apparently was not sussy? I'm unsure. And yeah, that's what has happened so far. So we're going to start on chapter 6. Hopefully I don't yawn 5 bazillion million times. I have to, like, remember how to breathe. Alright, chapter 6. Leafpaw burst up through the surface of water, gasping for air as she scrambled to find solid ground. Managing to stand in spite of the river flowing strongly around her legs, she shook icy drops of water from her pelt. The river bank was only a couple of tail lengths away. She shivered in the pale sun of Leafpaw as she looked up to see Mothwing peering down at her from an overhanging rock. The River Clan cat's amber eyes were narrowed in amusement. You don't fish by jumping in the river, she pointed out. I know that, Leafpaw retorted crossly. I slipped, that's all. I believe you, Mothwing purred, giving her golden chest fur a few quick licks. Now come on, and we'll have another go. I'll teach you to fish if it's the last thing I do. I'm not sure we should be doing this, Leafpaw meowed as she waded back to the bank. Of course we should. The rabbits and squirrels are starting to disappear, thanks to the 2 legs, but there's still plenty of fish for every cat. But I had to come into River Clan territory to get it, Leafpaw pointed out anxiously. What would Leopardstar say if she knew? Mothwing blinked. We're both medicine cats, so clan boundaries don't matter for us like they do for other cats. Leafpaw didn't think that was how the warrior code worked. Her friend had said much the same a couple days earlier when she had rescued Leafpaw and Sorreltail, I got it right, from the pursuing Wind Clan warriors. This morning she had called Leafpaw while she was gathering herbs near Sunning Rocks and offered to give her a fishing lesson. Leafpaw had felt very nervous about crossing the clan border, but her hunger had driven her on now that the prey was becoming even scarcer in ThunderClan territory. All the same, her ears and nose were alert for the first sign of a RiverClan patrol. Okay, Mothwing went on, crouch here beside me, and look down into the water. When you see a fish, scoop it out with your paws. It's easy. A couple of glittering fish laying on the bank showed just how easy it was for Mothwing. Leafpaw gave them a longing glance, wondering if she would ever learn. Want some? Mothwing offered, following her gaze. Leafpaw felt guilty at the thought of being full-fed while the rest of her clan went hungry. But she had not tasted fresh kills since the night before, and that had only been a stringy vole. I shouldn't. Privet! She murmured, trying to convince herself that it wouldn't help her clan if she starved as well. Of course you can. What's the harm? Leafpaw did not wait to be asked again. She crouched down in front of the fish, tucking her paws in, and sank her teeth into the cool flesh. Delicious, she mumbled. Mothwing looked pleased. Learn how to do it, and you can take lots more for your clan. She took a few dainty bites, as if she were fully fed already and didn't care whether or not she ate. Gulping down the rest of the fish, Leafpaw told herself that she would find food for her clan to make up for it. As soon as she had finished, she settled down on the rock beside Mothwing and concentrated on the water just below, to wait for a fish of her own. An unfamiliar scent swept over her at the same instant as Mothwing hissed, Hawk Frost! Leafpaw felt a paw jab hard into her ribs, tipping her over the edge of the rock and back into the river. She thrashed wildly, wondering why Mothwing was trying to drown her. Then, as her head broke the surface, she saw a huge tabby shape of Hawk Frost approaching the bank, and realized that Mothwing had done the only thing she could do to hide her quickly. Her paws worked gently to keep her nose just above the water. Leafpaw let herself drift downriver for a few tail lengths until she came to a clump of reeds where she could crawl out on the ThunderClan side of the river and hide. Thank you for the follow! Hawkfrost had stopped to talk to his sister, and Leafpaw realized that she would have to crouch where she was, soaked and shivering, until he went away and she could make a break across the open ground to ThunderClan border. Keep an eye open for WindClan, she heard him meow when her ears were clear of water. I know very well they're stealing fish, and one day I'll catch them at it. Not down here, surely, Mothwing replied innocently. WindClan could fish closer to 4 trees, if they're fishing at all. WindClan and ThunderClan, Hawkfrost growled. He added, I can send a ThunderClan cat now. Leafpaw shivered and shrank down in her clump of reeds. So? The border's over there, Mothwing pointed out. It would be odd if you didn't send ThunderClan. Hawkfrost grunted. There's something not right in this forest. Cats have gone missing from all the clans. For one thing, do you remember what the other leader said at the last gathering? That's 4 more cats, besides Stormfur and Feathertail. I don't know what's going on, but I'll find out. Leafpaw tensed. She had told Mothwing about her 2-leg monster, but obviously Mothwing had not passed on the news to the rest of her clan. Chilled by the hunger in Hawkfrost's voice, Leafpaw prayed to StarClan that she would not say anything about it now. To her relief, her friend mewed calmly. There's nothing wrong in RiverClan, so why should we care? Have you got bees in your brain? Hawkfrost snapped. This could be our chance to make RiverClan great. If the other clans are weak, we could rule over the whole forest. Hawkfrost is the name, yes. I'm good also. What? Mothwing sounded disgusted. You're the one with bees in your brain. Who do you think you are, Tiger Star? There are worse cats to imitate, Hawkfrost meowed. Pure icy fear laced through Leafpaw. Tiger Star had been prepared to kill any cat who opposed him in his quest for supreme power, and now another cat was preparing to follow in his paw steps. Another thought sprang into her mind. This was what Mothwing must have meant when she talked about a cat with ambition on the day she rescued Leafpaw and Sorreltail from WindClan. She had been worried about her own brother. A few days before, Leafpaw had been sure that the forest would never produce another Tiger Star. Now she could only strain her ears, horrified, to make out what Hawkfrost would say next. Have you forgotten what happened to Tiger Star? Mothwing snapped. He failed, and now he's just a name to frighten kits with. I shall learn from his mistakes, Hawkfrost's voice rumbled deep in his chest. Our mother told us enough about him after all. He broke the warrior code, and he deserved to fail. I shall know better. Leafpaw stared at the reeds in front of her, puzzled. Hawkfrost's mother, Sasha, the road cat, had told them about Tiger Star? How did she know? Leafpaw had never met Sasha, the clanless she-cat that stayed in RiverClan for only a short while, long enough to decide that she wanted her kits to be raised as part of the clan. No cat knew where she had been from before then. In her bewilderment, Leafpaw had not noticed that the wind had changed, and that playful breeze twisting its way upriver had carried her scent with it. I can smell ThunderClan, Hawkfrost declared suddenly. Leafpaw's heart nearly jumped out of her chest. That scent's fresh, too. One of their warriors is in our territory. I'll claw his fur off. Above her head, Leafpaw heard Mothwing scramble to her paws. You're right, she exclaimed. It's this way. Come on. Leafpaw heard her voice growing fainter as she bounded away in the opposite direction. Mousebrain, Hawkfrost argued. It's downstream. Leafpaw didn't wait to hear any more. While he was following Mothwing, she broke out of the reeds and streaked up the bank towards the ThunderClan border. She plunged thankfully into the thick bracken just on the other side of ThunderClan border. Thank you for the follow! Turning to peer out again, she saw Hawkfrost padding downstream, stopping to give the clump of reeds where she had just been hiding a good sniff before turning back to Mothwing with a frustrated growl. Once again, Leafpaw was struck by the powerful tabby's resemblance to some other cat. The thought bothered her like a tick she couldn't reach, because she still couldn't remember who. She was too far away to hear what the two RiverClan cats said to each other, but after a few moments, they both continued downstream to the stepping stones and crossed to the RiverClan side of the river. When they finally disappeared into the reeds, Leafpaw drew a huge breath of relief and started trotting back to camp. The guilt she felt about her full belly was almost forgotten amid pricklings of unease about what Mothwing had said. Hawkfrost sounded as ambitious as Tiger Star, and there was no place for that when the forest was on the brink of destruction. A gleam of dying sunlight pierced the clouds and lay like a streak of blood across the forest floor. Leafpaw guessed that Cinderpelt would be wondering where she was, but she needed time to figure out how Hawkfrost and Mothwing knew so much about Tiger Star. She sat down and began to groom her drying fur. Sasha had been a road cat wandering the forest until she had come to RiverClan with her kits and settled briefly there. She might have visited ShadowClan where Tiger Star was leader. It was possible. Leafpaw froze. She realized which cat Hawkfrost resembled so strongly. Brambleclaw! And every cat knew who Brambleclaw's father was. Could it be possible that Tiger Star was Hawkfrost and Mothwing's father as well? If he was, that would make Hawkfrost and Brambleclaw half-brothers. She was staring into the trees as if she could see the answer there. Where was I? When her thoughts were interrupted by the frantic beating of wings, she looked up to see a magpie fluttering out of the bushes to land on a branch above her head. At the same time, a loud voice exclaimed, Mouse dung! Oh, mouse dung! The bushes just ahead her rustled violently, and Graystripe appeared, glaring up at the magpie with frustration in his yellow eyes. Missed it, he muttered. I don't know what's the matter with me. Leafpaw rose to her paws as the deputy approached, dipping her head respectfully and letting out a sympathetic purr. She hoped that her pelt was dry enough for Graystripe not to notice that she had been swimming. Hello, Leafpaw, he meowed. Sorry if I startled you. Actually, I do know what's wrong with me, he went on, the tip of his tail twitching uneasily. I can't get Feathertail and Stormfur out of my head. I wish I knew where they've gone. Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw, too. Leafpaw felt another pang of guilt. She could save Graystripe so much worry if she told him what she knew about the prophecy, but she had promised the journeying cats that she would keep silent. I feel that they're all safe, she ventured, and that they'll come back to us. Graystripe looked up with a flicker of hope in his amber eyes. Has Starkland told you that? Not exactly, but I can't help wondering if it has something to do with the two legs, Graystripe interrupted. Cats go missing, two legs invade us. His paws worked up against the ground, tearing up the grass with his claws. Graystripe, can I ask you something? Leafpaw meowed, desperate to change the subject. Sure, go ahead. Did you ever meet Sasha, Hawkfrost's and Mothwing's mother? Graystripe looked up at her in surprise. Once. At a gathering. What was she like? Leafpaw asked curiously. Nice enough, Graystripe told her. Quiet and ready to be friendly. A lot like Mothwing to look at, but it was clear that being among a lot of cats spooked her. I wasn't surprised when she left the forest as soon as Mothwing and Hawkfrost were old enough to do without her. Does any cat know who their father was? The deputy shook his head. No, I always assumed it was another rogue. Rogues? There was the sound of paw steps behind them. Oh, it's Firestar. Rogues? There was a sound of paw steps behind them, and Leafpaw spun around to see Firestar approaching from the direction of camp. Have you seen rogues? He demanded, tension clear in every hair in his flame-colored pelt. For StarClan's sake, that's the last thing we need right now. No, not at all, Graystripe meowed quickly. Leafpaw was just asking about Sasha, and which cat fathered Mothwing and Hawkfrost. Firestar turned to look at Leafpaw, his green eyes puzzled. What do you want to know? Leafpaw hesitated. She wasn't about to admit that she had been spending time with the Mothwing in RiverClan territory. Oh, I just saw Hawkfrost, she meowed. He was patrolling on the border. She comforted herself. That was not entirely a lie. There was no way that she was going to mention her suspicion that Tigerstar had fathered Hawkfrost and Mothwing, not when he and Firestar had been such bitter enemies. Firestar nodded. Well, I have no idea. Sasha might have told some cat in RiverClan, I suppose. He padded across to Graystripe and touched noses with his old friend as if he guessed the thoughts that were troubling him. Both cats had lost children among the 6 cats that had vanished from the forest. They stared up into the trees, where the chilly wind was tugging leaves from the branches until they drifted down to join the other dead leaves on the forest floor. They must be cold, with no clan to shelter them each night, Graystripe murmured. At least they have one another, Firestar mewed, pressing himself against Graystripe's side. For a moment, both cats remained silent. Then Firestar turned to his daughter. Leafpaw, you sometimes know what Squirrelpaw's thinking, don't you? You told us she was with the RiverClan cats. Have you any idea of where they are now? Leafpaw blinked. She couldn't deny her father the chance to know if Squirrelpaw was alive, and she wanted to know just as fiercely. She shut her eyes and summoned up all her old rapport with her sister. Emptying her mind, she concentrated fiercely. She gasped to feel a surge of cold and wet, shuddering as if a blast of cold wind propped her drying fur. But there was no sign of Squirrelpaw anywhere, just water, blasting air, and endless rock. Opening her eyes, Leafpaw blinked in confusion as she realized that her fur was dry and the forest was still. She had made contact with her sister after all. She's alive, she murmured. Beside her, Firestar's eyes lit up. And wherever she is, I think it must be raining. Chapter 7. Hi, Mini Pro! Hi, Mikarin! Yeah, for those people who just followed, I try not to comment too much or ask questions while I'm reading a chapter, but between chapters I'll answer things. I want a grilled cheese sandwich so badly though. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Whew. Chapter 7. Also, hi, Cordy! Stormfur opened his eyes and blinked in light that was sharp as a claw. His breath rasped in his throat and every muscle in his body ached. He felt too exhausted even to move. As his vision cleared, he saw that he was lying on rain-wet rock beside a pool of churning black water. His ears were ringing. When he raised his head feebly, he saw a waterfall thundering down into the pool in a whirl of foam and spray, and realized that what he could hear was the roar and crash of falling water. At once he remembered the flood that had swept him down from the rocks and plunged him into the pool. How had he survived? He remembered the roar, the foam, the darkness. Fear for his friends stabbed through him. Feathertail? Squirrelpaw? He mewed hoarsely. Over here. The reply was so faint, it was nearly lost in the endless pounding of the waterfall. Stormfur turned his head to see Squirrelpaw splayed out in the rock beside him, her dark ginger fur sodden. Got to sleep, she murmured, closing her eyes. Just beyond her, Stormfur could see Brambleclaw stretched limply on his side. The ThunderClan warrior was staring up at the sky, his breathing fast and shallow. Crowpaw was on Stormfur's other side. With a feeling of horror, he thought that the WindClan apprentice was dead until he saw the faint rise and fall of his flank. What about Feathertail and Tawnypelt? Beginning to panic, Stormfur struggled to sit up. At first he could not see either of his sister or the tortoiseshell she-cat. Then a movement further around the pool caught his eye. Near the waterfall, Feathertail was helping Tawnypelt out onto the rock. The ShadowClan warrior was tottering on 3 legs, and as soon as she reached solid ground, she collapsed and laid without moving. Feathertail hauled herself out, her gray fur plastered to her side so it looked almost black. She settled down beside Tawnypelt and gave her shoulder a couple of feeble licks. Thanks, StarClan, Stormfur rasped out loud. We all made it. He vaguely knew what they had to find shelter, that if they went online here, they were vulnerable to predators like the eagle. But he was too exhausted to move. He gave his drying fur a few licks, but even that was too much effort. He lay still, his senses drifting, his gaze fixed unseeingly on the rocks beside the pool. As his senses gradually returned, he noticed that they were lying on a curved bowl of rock, open on the side where the stream surged out of the pool and headed down the valley, boulders covering the ground on either bank. A couple of spindly trees rooted among them. Light shivered on the water. The rain had almost stopped and the clouds were thinning out. Above Stormfur's head, rainbows danced in the spray thrown up by the waterfall. A thin beam of sunlight splashed on the rocks a tail length away from him. He dragged himself painfully into it and sighed with pleasure at the warmth on his fur. A few heartbeats later, he thought he saw a flash of movement. He blinked, straining to focus his eyes. For a moment, all was still. Then he caught another flicker on the far side of the pool. His fur prickled. They were being watched. Stormfur narrowed his eyes, gazing hard at the boulders near the waterfall. Brambleclaw, he whispered. Look over there. What? The ThunderClan warrior raised his head, peered around, and lay down again. Can't see anything. There! Stormfur hissed as movement flickered again, this time a tail length closer. He flexed his claws, knowing how helpless he and his friends were to defend themselves. Then a gray-brown shape detached itself from the rock and began padding towards him around the edge of the pool. It was a cat! Before Stormfur could move, another cat appeared, and then another, a whole group of cats moving silently away from the rocks where they had been hidden, camouflaged against the boulders, as if they were carved from the stone themselves. They sat on the edge of the pool, staring unblinkingly at the group of half-drowned travelers. Stormfur swallowed hard. These cats were like none he had ever seen before, uniformly gray-brown with dull, flattened fur. Then one moved into the sunlight and he realized that their fur was covered with thick streaks of mud, helping them to blend in with the rocks and hiding the real color of their pelts. Stormfur sat up, his muscles shrieked in protest. He prodded Squirrelpaw with one paw and whispered hoarsely, Sit up very slowly. Whatever you do, don't say anything out loud. Squirrelpaw lifted her head, then saw the watching cats and tried to scramble up with alarm flaring in her green eyes. Her movement disturbed Brambleclaw, who jumped up at once. Stormfur managed to get his paws to stand beside him, thankful to have the strong ThunderClan warrior with him as they faced danger. Brambleclaw glanced around for the other cats. Feathertail, Tawnypelt, over here, now. There was a commanding rasp in his voice, even though he shook with exhaustion. You too, Crowpaw. Crowpaw struggled up, for once not arguing, and went to help Feathertail. Tawnypelt was leaning against her shoulder, hardly able to move. The 3 of them limped around the pool until they could bunch together with Stormfur and the others, their eyes wide and scared as they watched the strange cats. Hello! Stormford knew that they were all too shaken and exhausted to defend themselves, but in spite of his fear, a pang of curiosity stabbed him. He wanted to know more about these strangers who looked so different from any other cat he had known. The thought even flashed through his mind that they might help with food and shelter. Then he reminded himself that he and his friends were unlikely to be made welcome after trespassing on strange cats' territory, and the best they could expect was to be driven off. He hardly dared to breathe as the first cat approached, and he studied them all carefully. Padding close to Stormfur, he gave him an especially long scrutiny, barely sparing any glance at the cats on the other side of him. Stormfur tried to meet the staring yellow eyes, wondering uneasily what it was about him that interested the mud-clad cat so much. "Is this the one?" A tabby she-cat stepped forward eagerly. She spoke in the same language as the clan cats, though the sound of the words was strange to Stormfur's ears, and the question more confusing still. He watched her as she drew closer, her lithe body balancing easily on the slippery stones at the edge of the pool. "Is this what we've hoped for?" she persisted, reaching her clanmate's side. The first cat's head whipped around and he glared at the speaker. "Silence, Brooke!" Turning back to Stormfur, he asked roughly, "Who are you? Have you traveled far?" Stormfur heard Tawny Pelt mutter, "What are these, mud warriors? We're more than a match for them," and felt heartened by the Shadow Clan cat's abrasive courage. Yes, we've come a long way," Squirrelpaw answered. "Can you help us?" "Careful," Brambleclaw interrupted with a warning look. To the strange cats, he added, "We're traveling to cross the mountains. We're not looking for trouble, but if you are enemies, we can fight." The cat narrowed his eyes. "We have no wish for fighting. Your journey has brought you to the tribe of Rushing Water." "You are welcome to come if you come in friendship," the tabby she-cat added, a glow in her amber eyes as she looked at Stormfur. Stormfur remembered that Midnight the Badger had spoken of cats who lived in tribes instead of clans. These must be the cats she met, though she had said nothing to suggest the clan cats would encounter them on their journey home. Surely she must have known that they would come across the tribe as they crossed the mountains. Stormfur reminded himself that he had instinctively trusted Midnight. If the tribe had been dangerous, she would have warned them, or told them to go the other way. Instead, she had implied that this route had been laid down for them. Did that mean that she thought that they were destined to meet with the tribe? "Hello, Ziggy!" As the she-cat spoke, another of the strangers came padding up to look at Stormfur with a gleam in his eyes. "Come on, Craig," he meowed to the first cat. "We should take this one to Stoneteller." "What?" Brambleclaw stepped forward to confront Craig, while Stormfur tensed his muscles in readiness for a fight. "You're not taking him anywhere without us. We want to talk to your leader." As Craig mentioned the other cat back with an angry flick of his tail, the ThunderClan warrior relaxed slightly. "We only want to travel in peace," he went on. "My name is Brambleclaw of ThunderClan." Craig bowed his head while stretching out one paw, an odd but polite gesture. "My name is Craig. Well, where eagles nest," he announced. "I am Brooke, where small fish swim," the tabby she-cat added, stretching out a paw as Craig had done. Craig gave her a disapproving look, as if he was not happy that she had put herself forward. His gaze flickered past Brambleclaw and rested again on Stormfur. "What is that one's name?" I'm Stormfur. I'm Stormfur. I'm Stormfur. How did I do his voice? I'm Stormfur." He tried to push down the uncomfortable feeling that these cats' fascination gave him. "I come from RiverClan." "Stormfur," Craig repeated. "I'm Squirrelpaw." The tense moment was broken at the ThunderClan cat. The ThunderClan apprentice spoke up. "And I'm Crowpaw." "I'm Feathertail, and this is Tawny Pelt." Stormfur's sister fixed anxious blue eyes on Craig. "Please, can you help her? Her shoulder is badly injured." Brambleclaw glared at Feathertail with a hiss of disapproval. This was no time to be admitting weakness to strangers. Instantly, Crowpaw stepped forward. "She's right," he defended Feathertail. "This clan might have a medicine cat who can help." "Your words are strange to us," Craig responded, "but we will help. Come with us now and our leader will speak with you." "Hang on," Crowpaw meowed. He was still shaky on his legs, but he was obviously trying to sound fit to defend himself. "How far are we going?" "Not far," meowed Brooke. Stormford glanced at the watching cats around the edge of the pool. What else can we do except go with them? What else can we do except go with them? He murmured to Brambleclaw. "We need to rest." He said nothing of his own misgivings about Craig's penetrating gaze. After all, any cat would stare if he found 6 half-drowned strangers in his territory. Brambleclaw nodded. "All right," he meowed to Craig. "We'll come." "Good." Craig led the way along the edge of the pool, leaped up the first few rocks beside the waterfall, and then vanished behind a sheet of foaming water. Stormford stared in astonishment, half expecting the strange cat to come hurling down the pool again, knocked off of his paws by the waterfall. Then Brooke stepped forward, gesturing with her tail. "This is the path of the rushing water. Come, it is safe." The rest of the cats had risen to their paws and gathered around them. Stormford felt unease that he and his friends were being herded after Craig as if they were prisoners, but he had no choice but to follow the mud-covered cats and scramble up the rocks. It was a hard climb after the fall, especially for Tawny Pelt, who was limping heavily. Halfway up, she stumbled and almost slipped back into the pool until Brooke darted forward to steady her. The Shadow Clan warrior flinched away from her. "I'm fine," she growled. As Stormford hauled himself up to where Craig had disappeared, he saw that the tribe cat was waiting for him on a narrow ledge of rock leading behind the waterfall. A dark hole gaped at the end of it. "I'm not going in there!" Squirrelpaw exclaimed. "You'll be fine," Brambleclaw spoke reassuringly behind her. "There is no danger," Craig meowed, padding confidently along the path and standing at the mouth of the hole. Stormford swallowed. They had to trust these cats. There was no way they could make it through the mountains without food and rest. "Come on." Taking the lead, he edged along the path, pressing himself against the rocks as far as possible from the sheet of thundering water. It was barely a tail length away from him. Spray misted his fur, and the rock underneath his paws was cold and slippery. Too tense to turn around. He could not be sure that the other cats were following him. He felt as if he were walking alone into an endless, thundering darkness. But the gaping hole led into a cave with steep rocky walls, stretching nearly to the top of the waterfall. Stormford paused on the threshold, peering past Craig at soaring walls that ran with water. The scent of many more strange cats drifted out to him, hidden in the shadows around the edge of the cave. "What's in there?" Feathertail murmured nervously, trying to peer inside. She was shivering, her pelt so sodden that it looked almost as dark as Crowpaw's. Crowpaw brushed against her flank. "Whatever happens, we'll be there together," he murmured. Bro. Stormford suspected he was not supposed to hear that. He had to stop himself from spitting at Crowpaw or shooting an angry glare at his sister. There were far more pressing things to think about right now. Craig waved his tail once again and padded into the cave, turning back to check that the others were behind him. "I don't like this," Squirrelpaw muttered. "How do we know what we're going to find in there?" "We don't," Brambleclaw replied. "But we've got to face it. Everything on this journey happens for a reason. We owe it to the clans to see this through." "We never thought it would be easy," Stormford agreed, trying to shake off the deep sense of dread that overcame him at the thought of setting paw inside the cave. "Well, if we have to do it, let's get on with it." Crowpaw pushed forward and led the way inside. Stormford followed, the other cats crowding behind him. As he gazed around, he heard Tawny Pelt mew quietly, as much to reassure herself as the rest of them. StarClan will be with us, even here. Chapter 8. Hello, Neela! Hi, Suki! Thank you for dropping by! Right. Should I be drinking Dr. Pepper? I see the death toll went up. Yeah, it was because we forgot to put one down. In the first book, there was, someone was dead, and we forgot about them. So that... Sorry, Running Nose. Shout out to Running Nose. He's dead. Chapter 8. I hadn't heard your outro until yesterday, surprisingly. Yeah, usually I raid and then let you guys go before I sit on the ending stream for a little while. R.I.P. man. What? What do you mean, what? Yeah, he was killed off screen. I'm guessing he died of old age, but who really knows? We just don't know what happened to him. Maybe he got sick. Because he had a runny nose. The death. Okay, chapter 8. If a cat leaps at you, roll onto your back, Cinderpelt instructed. Then you can attack his belly with your claws. Try it. Leafpaw waited as her mentor crouched in front of her and then leaped into the air. Rolling over as Cinderpelt had told her, she dug her hind paws into the medicine cat's belly and flung her off to one side. Good, Cinderpelt meowed. She scrambled through her paws, awkward because of her injured leg. That's enough for now. The two cats had been training all morning in the sandy hollow, and though thick gray clouds covered the sky, Leafpaw's rumbling belly told her it must be close to sun-high. She had enjoyed the session with her mentor. The exercise had been a good distraction from her worries about the clan and the two legs, not to mention Squirrelpaw and the other cats who had been traveling with her. She followed Cinderpelt down into the ravine. Before they reached the entrance to the gorse tunnel, Leafpaw heard a patrol returning close behind them. Turning, she saw Firestar, Dustpelt, and Sorreltail. Firestar looked more worried than ever, while Dustpelt's brown tabby fur was bristling and his tail lashed furiously from side to side. Cinderpelt limped over to meet Firestar, while Leafpaw hurried to Sorreltail's side. What in StarClan's name is going on? WindClan, Sorreltail mewed, with a glance at the older warriors. They've been stealing prey from us. Leafpaw remembered the thin, desperate cats who had chased them out of their territory, and knew that she was not surprised at the news. We found scraps of rabbit fur and bones by the stream near 4 trees, Sorreltail went on. They reeked of WindClan scent. It's because their rabbits have vanished, Leafpaw meowed. She pushed aside the guilty memory of how she had taken fish from RiverClan. It's against the warrior code, Sorreltail pointed out. Dustpelt was furious. So I see, meowed Leafpaw. She followed her friend down the gorse tunnel to find Firestar and Dustpelt standing beside the fresh kill pile. Her belly lurched when she saw how small it was. Look at it! Dustpelt gestured with his tail. How is this gonna feed the clan? You'll have to do something about WindClan, Firestar. Firestar shook his head. We all know that Tallstar won't allow his warriors to steal prey unless his clan was in real trouble. Tallstar might not know what's going on. Besides, ThunderClan is in trouble too. It's not as if we have prey to spare. I know, Firestar sighed. I'm worried about Ferncloud, the brown warrior added. She's already lost a lot of weight, and she still has 3 kits to feed. If this goes on, I'll have to start rationing, Firestar decided. But meanwhile, we will do something about WindClan, I promise. Hi, Sebastian. Thank you. Whirling around, he bounded across the clearing and leaped to the top of the high rock. As he yowled out the summons, the rest of the clan began to appear at once. Leafpaw was shocked to see how lean they were. She had never really noticed before the gradual change from day to day as prey got harder to find. But now they looked more skinny than WindClan cats. More like skinny Wind Clan cats than sturdy forest-born ThunderClan warriors. Dustpelt was right that Fern Cloud in particular looked gaunt and exhausted. Her kits were thinner too, and they trailed after their mother as if they had no energy left to play. Were all the clans, apart from River Clan, slowly going to starve? Leafpaw listened anxiously as Firestar told the rest of the clan what the patrol had discovered. Wails of indignation broke out about the news that Wind Clan cats had trespassed onto ThunderClan territory and stolen prey. Wind Clan needs to be taught a lesson, Cloudtail called out. I haven't had the sniff of rabbit for days. We should attack now. No, she's got we should attack now, Mousefur put in, her brown fur bristling. No, Firestar meowed firmly. Things are bad enough without us looking for a battle. Mousefur didn't argue, though she muttered something under her breath, and Cloudtail lashed his tail. Leafpaw saw Brightheart meow a few words to him, trying to calm him down. Thank you for the follow, Jeff. What are you gonna do? Oh, sorry. What are you gonna do? Speckletail called from the entrance of the Elder's Den. Go and ask them nicely not to steal our food. Do you think they'll take any notice? More voices were raised in protest, with more than one cat echoing Mousefur's demand to attack. No, Firestar repeated. I'm gonna talk to Tallstar. He's a noble, trustworthy cat. Maybe he doesn't know that his warriors have been stealing prey. And what good will talking do? Cloudtail snorted. Blackstar didn't listen to you when you went to talk to him. If you ask me, Speckletail rasped, you're crossing clan boundaries far too often. The last cat to ignore borders like that was Tigerstar. Leafpaw winced at the old she-cat's suggestion that their leader was anything like the murderous Tigerstar. She wasn't the only cat to be shocked. Several cats turned on Speckletail, hissing fiercely, but when Firestar replied, his voice was calm. Tigerstar wanted to satisfy his greed for power. All I want to do is make peace. As for Blackstar, he added to Cloudtail, Tallstar has always been more reasonable. That's right. Graystripe supported his leader from where he sat at the base of the high rock. Remember when Bluestar wanted to fight Wind Clan? Tallstar was ready to make peace then. There wasn't a shortage on prey back then, Thornclaw reminded him. Right, Mousefur lashed her tail again. Some cats will do anything if their bellies are empty. Leafpaw listened in dismay as yowls broke out around her, agreeing with Mousefur. She spotted her mother, Sandstorm, exchanging an anxious glance with Graystripe. Firestar signaled with his tail for silence. That's enough. My mind's made up. All the clans are in trouble together now. This is no time to start fighting one another. Be careful, Firestar, Sorreltail warned him, as the yowls of protest died into discontent mutterings. You may go in peace, but the other clans might not see it that way. She glanced at Leafpaw, reminding her of their narrow escape from Wind Clan only a few days ago. Firestar nodded. Wind Clan will have to respect a patrol that looks strong enough to fight back. He meowed. I'll make it clear to Tallstar that there'll be trouble if he can't control his warriors and keep them on their side of the border. But we won't be looking for a fight. With StarClan's help, we can avoid that. Leafpaw's mind filled with images of the scarred moorland she had seen when she visited Wind Clan territory, and the desperation of the warriors who had chased her. Every hair on her pelt shrank from the idea of attacking Wind Clan and making their plight even worse. This is a bad time for all of us, she began hesitantly. We should be trying to help one another. Why don't we all share the fish in the river? There's still plenty of those. That's for River Clan to say, not us, Graystripe pointed out, while Ashford added, Fishing's too difficult. No, it's not, Leafpaw protested. We can learn how. She noticed that some of the other cats were giving her suspicious looks, as if they were wondering what she knew about fishing. Embarrassed, she scuffled her forepaws on the ground. It was just an idea. she mumbled. But not one we can use, Firestar mewed decisively. Anxious not to draw any more attention to herself, Leafpaw bowed her head and sat looking at her paws while Firestar chose the cats who would make up the patrol going to WindClan. Graystripe, of course, he began. Sandstorm, Dustpelt, Thornclaw, Ashfur, and you, Cinderpelt. Tallstar will listen to a medicine cat if you won't listen to me. Leafpaw realized that he had not chosen any of the cats who had been arguing for an attack straight away. Though he had included some formidable fighters, this patrol would not need to run. She stared where she was while the meeting broke up. With her eyes still fixed on the ground, she was aware of Firestar leaping from the high rock and padding over to her. Well, Leafpaw, he began. When she lifted her head, she was relieved to see warm affection in her father's eyes and felt even more ashamed of herself. What's all this about fishing? Leafpaw knew she would have to tell the truth. Mothwing taught me how, she explained. She said it was okay because we're both medicine cats. You are both medicine cat apprentices, Firestar meowed, and it sounds as if you both have a lot to learn. You know that it's against the warrior code to take prey from another clan. Even medicine cats have to respect that. I know. Guilt swept over Leafpaw again, making her feel like a naughty kit. She had just hoped that RiverClan had not found out what Mothwing had done and punished her for her generosity. I'm sorry. I shall have to punish you. You realize that, Firestar went on. His tail tip touched her shoulder gently as he added, I can't have any cat saying I favor you because you're my daughter. Oh, come on, Firestar. Cinderpelt had limped up to join them and was regarding her clan leader with amusement in her blue eyes. I remember a couple of cats who took ThunderClan prey across the river to RiverClan when the two-leg poisoned the fish. Surely you haven't forgotten. No. And Graystripe and I were punished for it, Firestar retorted. Then he sighed. Leafpaw, I know it's hard to see other cats hungry and do nothing about that, but the warrior code is what makes us who we are. If cats can break it when they feel like it, where does that leave us? Whatever is going to happen in the forest, whatever is happening now, we can't forget everything we believed in. I'm sorry, Firestar, Leafpaw repeated. She managed to stand up straight and look her father in the eyes. Let her come with the patrol the WindClan, Cinderpelt meowed before Firestar could speak. It'll be a good experience for her. Leafpaw looked hopeful at her clan leader. Honestly, Cinderpelt, Firestar sounded exasperated. There are cats who would say that's a reward, not a punishment. Oh, very well, he added. We're leaving right away. I'll just go and get the others. He touched Leafpaw's shoulder once more before padding away with his tail high. Thanks, Cinderpelt, Leafpaw meowed. I know I was stupid. It's just that, well, when Mothwing said it, it sounded okay to take fish. Cinderpelt snorted. Like Firestar said, you've both got a lot to learn. I don't know if I ever will, Leafpaw burst out. There are warrior rules and medicine cat rules, and it's all so confusing. It's not just about rules, Cinderpelt murmured sympathetically, touching her nose to Leafpaw's muzzle. Your sympathy for other clans and your willingness to see that sometimes rules have to be ignored will make you a great medicine cat in the end. Leafpaw's eyes widened. Really? Really. Medicine cat means nothing on its own, without an understanding of what should be done, which isn't always what you first think. Remember what I've told you about Yellowfang? She never followed the rules, but she was one of the best medicine cats this forest has ever seen. I wish I'd known her, Leafpaw murmured. So do I, but I can pass on to you what she taught me. To truly be a medicine cat lies in a cat's heart, and all its 5 senses. You must be braver than warriors, wiser than a clan leader, humbler than the tiniest kid, more willing to learn than any apprentice. Leafpaw gazed up at her mentor. I'm not sure I can be all that, she whispered. Well, I am sure. Cinderpelt's voice was low and intense. For we do not achieve this by ourselves, but by the strength of StarClan within us. Suddenly, the intensity had gone, and the humor came back in Cinderpelt's eyes. She swatted Leafpaw lightly with her tail. Come on. Firestar will never forgive us if we aren't ready for the patrol on top of everything else. Sunhigh was long gone and brisk wind was breaking up the clouds by the time Firestar led his patrol towards Four Trees. Before they were very far from camp, Leafpaw could hear the roar of two-legged monsters as they forced their way even further into ThunderClan territory. In contrast, the usual forest sounds, the calling of birds, the rustle of prey in the undergrowth, were silent. Even though Leafpaw had well and truly arrived, Leafpaw knew that there should be much more prey than this. The small creatures that the cats depended on for their survival were gone, frightened away by the two legs or even killed as the monsters tore up their forest homes. As they drew closer to Four Trees, the roar of the monsters died away, and Leafpaw could make out the faint scrabblings of prey among the bushes. But it was still much less than usual. She swallowed nervously as she imagined a harsh and hungry leaf bear. A yowl from Thornclaw jerked her out of her thoughts. "Look!" There was a flash of movement in the thick undergrowth. Beside the stream, two cats, a dark brown Tom and a tabby, leaped across the stream and streaked up the slope towards Four Trees. One of them had a small piece of prey, a vole or mouse, in its jaws. "WindClan cats!" Stormfur meowed, her pale ginger fur bristling. "That was Mudclaw and Tornier, I'm sure of it." Dustpelt and Ashfur sprang after the fleeing warriors, but Firestar called them back sharply. "We mustn't look as if we're attacking WindClan," he told them. "I'm coming in peace, not fury, to speak with Tallstar." "And you're letting them go?" Ashfur asked disbelievingly. "With our fresh kill in their mouths?" "It's more proof that they're stealing prey," Firestar pointed out. "Tallstar won't be able to ignore what we have to tell them now." "But they'll warn Tallstar," Dustpelt protested. "WindClan could ambush us before we get anywhere near their camp." "No, Tallstar isn't like that. If he fights us, he'll do it in the open." The two warriors exchanged doubtful glances before falling in behind Firestar. Leafpaw could see that Dustpelt was still smoldering with anger, but he expressed it with no more than an irritable twitch of his tail tip. The patrol crossed the stream, the water still churned and muddy from the WindClan warriors' paws, and climbed to the slope to Four Trees. Leafpaw's heart started beating uncomfortably as Firestar led them around the top of the hollow. Remembering her doomed visit with Swirltail, she wondered whether they would be able to speak to Tallstar at all. As they approached the border, the breeze carried a strong scent of cats towards them. Leafpaw looked out over the wind-blown grass to see a ragged group of WindClan warriors racing over the crest of the moorland. In the lead, she recognized the clan leader, Tallstar. By his black and white pelt and long tail, he must have spotted the ThunderClan patrol, for he slackened his pace and signaled with his tail. His warriors slowed to a walk and spread out to form a long line facing the ThunderClan cats. "See?" Dustpelt hissed. "They're ready for us." On an unspoken command, the WindClan cats stalked up to the border and halted a couple of tail lengths away from the ThunderClan patrol. They were even thinner than Leafpaw remembered, the sharp lines of their ribs plainly visible. Hostility burned in their eyes, and it was clear that not one of them wanted the ThunderClan visitors to set a paw on their territory. "Well, Firestar," Tallstar growled, "what do you want with us this time?" Chapter 9. Why am I like cold and hot and cold and hot? Why can't my body make up its mind and just stay one heat? Hi, Spiral Circle. Nono pet. No! I'm not that old. I'm not that old. What the? How could you say such a thing? How could you say such a thing to me, Peachy? Wants to feel all the temps at once. Anger. Distraught. Alright, let's keep going. Nono is now the ancient one. No! Chapter 9. Stormfur stared in amazement. The cave was at least as broad as the waterfall that screened it from the outside world. What's menopause? Menopause is when a person with a uterus reaches a certain age and they stop being able to have kids anymore. So their period, they're like menstruation. Their period stops, and they go through a bunch of very terrible things that apparently last forever. And menopause isn't just like one thing, you just always live with it afterwards, apparently. So you stop getting your period, and then you get hot flashes and cold flashes and other uncomfortable things. And that's what menopause is. When you usually it happens like in your 50s, 40s, late 40s. I think 50s makes more sense. Starting at 45? What the? That's earlier than I thought. But I guess that makes sense. My mom did start getting menopause. Oh no. Yeah. Some people get it really early, and I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, because on one hand you don't get your period anymore, but on another hand you get hot flashes. Then again, I get hot flashes when I sleep anyways. I get the night flashes. Hormone imbalance. Oh no! Thought editing the bunny compilation would be hard, but this is going to be easy because she has so many embarrassing clips. Oh, that's cute. Oh my god, she's gonna love that so much. Okay, let's go. The cave was at least, where did I stop? He could just make out a narrow passage leading off on either side of the wall opposite of the sheet of water. The roof, far above his head, was shadowed too. Here and there, stones like fangs emerged to point straight down at the cave floor. The only light came through the rushing water, pale and wavering, so that it was like standing in the depths of a pool. As the cats ushered themselves further into the cave, Stormfur heard more running water beneath the roar of the falls, and saw a stream trickling over mossy rock to fall into a shallow pool in the floor cave. 2 or 3 cats, a skinny elder and a couple who looked young enough to be apprentices, were crouched beside it to drink. All of them looked up wearily at the arrival of the newcomers, as if they were expecting danger. Just beyond the pool was a pile of fresh kill, and, as Stormfur watched, a couple more of the mountain cats came in and deposited prey. It was the first thing he had seen that looked at all familiar, and his belly growled with hunger at the sight of rabbits. "Do you think they'll let us eat?" Squirrelpaw muttered close to his ear. "I'm starving." "For all you know, they think we're fresh kill," Crowpaw hissed from Squirrelpaw's other side. "They haven't done anything to harm us yet," Grumbleclaw pointed out. Stormfur tried to share his optimism, but Craig and Brooke had vanished, and for a few moments none of the other cats came to speak to them. Instead, the cats who had been drinking sidled over to their guards, as the elder whispered something, all the while darting glances to him. The 2 apprentices murmured excitedly to each other. The roar of the waterfall drowned their voices, though Stormfur noticed the mountain cats seemed to have no trouble hearing one another. Trying to ignore the muttering, most of which seemed to be directed at him, though he told himself to stop being so paranoid, Stormfur identified what looked like sleeping places beside the cave walls. Shallow scoops in the earth floor, lined with moss and feathers. One cluster of sleeping places lay close to the entrance, and the other 2 were further back, at the opposite side of the cave. He wondered if one set was for warriors, one for apprentices, and one for elders. Spotting a couple of kits scuffling outside the entrance to one of the passages, he guessed that led to the nursery. Suddenly, he saw a dark, noisy, frightening cave in a different way. This was a camp! The tribe shared some of the ways of the clans in the forest. Stormfur began to feel much more hopeful at getting food and rest, and help for Tawny Pelt, who had sunk shivering to the floor. Then he spotted Craig again, emerging from the far passage and padding across the cave floor towards the tight group of forest cats. He was followed by another cat, long-bodied and skinny as a Wind Clan warrior. So much mud plastered his fur that Stormfur couldn't make out what color it was underneath. But his eyes were a deep and glowing green, and a few white hairs around his muzzle betrayed the fact that he was older than the cats they had seen so far. Greetings. Greetings, he meowed in a deep voice that seemed to echo around the cave. He made the odd gesture with one paw extended that Craig and Brooke had used outside. I want a good... I gave him a really good voice in the prologue, but I can't remember what it was. My name is Teller of Pointed Stones, though you will find it easier to call me Stone Teller. I am the healer of the tribe of Rushing Water. Healer? Brambleclaw glanced uncertainly at his friends. Do you mean the medicine cat? Where's the leader of your clan? I mean tribe. Stone Teller hesitated for a moment. I'm not sure what you mean by a medicine cat, and there is no other leader of this tribe. I interpret the signs of rock and leaf and water, and that shows me what the tribe should do, with the help of the tribe of Endless Hunting. Stormfur picked up the bit of Stone Teller's speech that he understood. Then he's a medicine cat and leader, he muttered to Brambleclaw. That's pretty powerful. In reply, Brambleclaw dipped his head politely. We come from a forest a long way from here, he began, repeating his own name and the names of his friends. We have a difficult journey ahead of us. We need food and shelter before we can go on. More of the tribe cats crowded around as he spoke, openly curious. Stormfur picked out kits and apprentices by their size and noticed that the warriors seemed to divide into two groups, one with massive shoulders and powerful muscles, and the other more slender, with wiry strength and long limbs for speed. He noticed, too, how anxious they all looked. They seemed to be on edge, as if they were poised to flee. A brown tabby she-cat, her eyes fixed on Stormfur, murmured, Yes, this must be the one. It must be. Stormfur stared. Brooke had said something similar when he first met beside the pool. He opened his mouth to ask what she meant, but the tribe's healer had turned to the young brown tabby. Be silent, he hissed. More smoothly, he went on to the clan cats. You are welcome to our cave. Here is caught prey in plenty. He flicked his tail towards the fresh kill pile. Eat your fill and rest. We have much to say to one another. Brambleclaw looked at the other clan cats. We might as well eat, he meowed quietly. I don't think they're gonna hurt us now. As Stormfur followed him towards the pile, he felt once more dozens of eyes burning into his fur. It wasn't his imagination. They were definitely watching him more closely than the others. His fur prickled from nose to tail tip as he settled down to eat. As he bit into the rabbit he had chosen, he heard a gasp from somewhere behind him and a shocked voice whispering, They don't share! Glancing up, he saw a young gray cat giving him a hostile stare, while an older tabby bent her head to him and murmured, Shh! It's not their fault that they haven't been properly taught. Stormfur didn't know what they meant. Then he spotted two of the tribe cats who were eating side by side. Each of them took a bite from the piece of fresh kill they had taken, then exchanged pieces before they settled down to finish it off. Embarrassment flooded over him as he realized how rude he and his friends must look to the tribe cats. We don't do that. He meowed directly to the young cat who had spoken first. But we do share. He flicked his tail towards Feathertail, who was gently coaxing Tawnypelt to eat a mouse. None of us would let our friends go hungry, and the hunting patrols always feed the clan before taking food for themselves. The gray cat backed away a pace or two, looking confused, as if he hadn't intended the newcomer to hear his comments. The tabby dipped her head with a friendlier look. Your ways are strange to us. she meowed. Perhaps we can learn from one another. Perhaps, Stormfur agreed. He began gulping down his rabbit again. After a few moments, one of the bolder kits pattered right up to the group of clan cats, urged on by his litter mates. Where you come from? He asked. A long ways away, Squirrelpaw mumbled, with her mouth full. Swallowing the bite of prey, she added more clearly, across the mountains and lots of fields and then a forest. The kit blinked. Well, fields. Before Squirrelpaw could reply, he added, I'm gonna be a cave guard. That's nice, Feathertail mewed. Plus, I've gotta be a tubie first. Tubie? What's a tubie? Asked Crowpaw. Stormfur hid his amusement at the scornful look the kit gave the Wind Clan apprentice. You'll be a cave guard, of course. You know, training and stuff. Don't you new cats know anything? He means an apprentice, Stormfur explained, and couldn't resist adding, like you. Crowpaw curled his lip as the kit stared at him and exclaimed, You're only a tubie? You're way old. Sounds as if they have some of the same traditions as us, Tawny Pelt murmured. I wonder if they believe in StarClan, Squirrelpaw whispered. It's too far for them to go to Mothermouth, meowed Stormfur, and no cat has ever seen them before. Stoneteller mentioned the tribe of endless hunting, Feathertail remembered. Perhaps that's what they call StarClan. Her blue eyes stretched wide, and her voice was uneasy as she added, Or do you think they have different warrior ancestors? I don't know, Brambleclaw replied, but I guess we'll find out. When he finished eating, Stormfur had not felt so comfortably full since they left the woods, where they said goodbye to Midnight and Purdy. He would have liked to sleep, but he swallowed the last mouthful and swiped his tongue around his jaws. He spotted Stoneteller making his way towards them with 3 other cats. One of them was Craig, the other were she-cats, though neither of them was Brooke. Stormfur felt faintly disappointed. The young she-cat had shown courage and friendliness when they first met, and he had looked forward to seeing her again. Have you eaten well? Stoneteller asked as he approached. Very well, thanks, Brambleclaw replied. It's good of you to share prey with us. Why wouldn't we? Stoneteller sounded surprised. The prey is not ours. It belongs to the stones in the mountains. He sat down in front of the forest cats, wrapping his tail neatly around his paws. The other 3 cats gathered around him, but remained standing. Brambleclaw looked expectantly at them. Craig, you already know, he meowed Stoneteller, introducing his companions. He is the leader of our cave guards, the cats who protect this place, he added, when the clan cats looked confused. This, he flicked his tail towards the younger of the 2 she-cats, is Mist where sunlight shimmers. She is one of our best prey hunters. Mist dipped her head and blinked with friendly interest at the forest cats. And this, Stoneteller went on, indicating the other she-cat, is Star that shines on water. For now she is a kit mother, though when her kit's grown she will go back to being a cave guard. You all have different duties then, Tawny Pelt questioned, as the other forest cats murmured greetings. We do, Stoneteller replied. Do you choose the best fighters to be cave guards and the fastest cats to be prey hunters? Oh, sorry, that was Stormfur. Pretend I said that in a deeper voice. Stormfur asked, fascinated in spite of his wariness. Stoneteller twitched his whiskers in disagreement. No. All the cats in our tribe are born to their duties. That is our way. But tell us something more of yourselves, he went on, interrupting Squirrelpaw when she was just about to ask another question. Why are you making this long journey? We have never seen cats like you before. Brambleclaw gave Stormfur a sideways glance and muttered, What do you think? Do we tell them? I think we have to tell them that we were sent by StarClan. Stormfur breathed his reply close to the tabby warrior's ear, aware of how acute the mountain cat's hearing was. Otherwise, they might think... Otherwise they might think we're outlaws. But don't tell them why we had to make the journey in the first place, he added. We don't want to sound weak. Brambleclaw nodded. Clearing his throat self-consciously, he began to explain about the dreams each of the 4 chosen cats had received from StarClan, and the saltwater signs that had led them to the sun-drowned place where they had met Midnight. More of the tribe cats gathered wearily around to listen. Stormfur spotted admiring glances from them as Brambleclaw spoke of dangers they had faced, but there were a few suspicious mutterings too, as if some of them found it hard to trust the strangers. Don't worry, he put in, when Brambleclaw paused his story. StarClan hasn't sent us to fight you. They didn't say anything about meeting you, in fact. StarClan? Mist echoed, glancing at Stoneteller in bewilderment. What's StarClan? Stormfur heard Tawnypelt stifle an exclamation of surprise. Feathertail was right after all. These cats were not guided by StarClan. His fur prickled as he suppressed a shiver at the thought that perhaps StarClan was not watching over him and his friends in this strange place. Do not be troubled, Stoneteller meowed, touching Mist's shoulder with the tip of her tail in a reassuring gesture. Not all cats believe as we do, and we must respect in that of which we do not know. Ignorance is nothing to be afraid of. Please, he gestured towards Brambleclaw with one paw. Continue. So at last we come to the sun-drowned water and discover that Midnight is a badger, Brambleclaw explained. She told us the meaning of StarClan's prophecy, and now we're going home to tell our clans. A prophecy? Stoneteller meowed. His green gaze was fixed on Stormfur in a stare of eerie intensity. Then you too have visions of what is hidden. Oh, well, sometimes we have dreams, Tawnypelt explained, but mostly our medicine cats interpret signs for us. Clouds, the flight of birds, the fall of leaves. This I do also, Stormfur mewed. He broke off as a group of cats appeared in the cave entrance. Rising to his paws, he murmured, Forgive me, these are cave guards returning from a patrol. I must hear what they have to tell me. Dipping his head, he walked off to meet the leader of the group. Mist and Star stayed with the forest cats. Stormfur was struck again by how anxious the tribe cats looked, and he realized that so far he had not seen any of them enjoying themselves. No apprentices play-fighting, no warriors sharing tongues, or elders gathered to exchange gossip and stories. The whole tribe seemed to live in an atmosphere of suppressed fear. Are you okay? Tawnypelt meowed to Mist, echoing Stormfur's thoughts. You look worried. Is something wrong? Are you being attacked by another tribe? Squirrelpaw added. No, there are no cats to attack us, Star replied. There are no others in the mountains that we know of. How could there be another tribe when we guard the cave of the pointed stones? What's that? Meowed Crowpaw. His question was ignored. Mist exchanged a swift glance with Star and murmured, Shall we tell them? Stormfur barely caught the words and realized that he had not been meant to hear. A hiss came from one of the tribe cats who had crept closer to listen to the conversation. More than one of them looked scared or angry with Mist. What are you so afraid of? Stormfur persisted, his fur beginning to prickle with dread of the unknown. Nothing, Star replied, or nothing we may speak of. Rising to her paws, she dipped her head and began to walk away, gesturing with her tail for Mist to follow her. Mist gave the forest cats a backward glance, her eyes filled with fear, before she vanished into the shadows at the back of the cave. The other cats, too, began to creep away. Mystified, Stormfur turned to Brambleclaw and saw his own apprehension reflected in the ThunderClan cat's amber eyes. What's this all about? He murmured. Brambleclaw shook his head. StarClan knows. But whatever it is, it's obvious that something is frightening them. I wonder why they don't want to tell us what it is. Chapter 10. Ooh. Where the... I have to clean my glass. I mean, yes, I am wearing glasses. My glasses are dirty. My reading glasses. I'm debating if I should keep the clip where she drank hot sauce as one full clip or chop it and place it between different clips. Ooh. Depending how long this chapter is, this might be our last chapter, just so it gives me more time to see how things are being prepped and stuff like that. Maybe it's because you literally just met them. Maybe. Okay, chapter 10. Leafpaw gazed along the lines of hostile WindClan cats and locked eyes with the breaking-colored apprentice. The young cat drew its lips back in a snarl. Leafpaw's fur prickled. She was a medicine cat and was supposed to be outside normal clan rivalries, but she found her claws instinctively flexing into the soft moorland grass. If it came to a fight, that apprentice would soon discover that she was not lacking in warrior skills. Well? When Firestar didn't immediately answer his question, Tallstar repeated it. Why have you come? Do you think we are so weak that you can drive us out as Broken Star did? Defiant yowls and hisses broke out from the warriors behind him, and it was a moment before Firestar could make himself heard. Tallstar, you have known nothing but friendship from me since the time that Graystripe and I found you and brought you home, he replied. Have you forgotten that? I think you must have, or you wouldn't accuse me of being like... Oh my god! My Tamagotchi! It's evolving! Wow! It's purple now. Amazing. Evolution jump scare! I'm gonna clean up its poop. Are you hungry, my child? Little bit hungry. The child, there's like a child Tamagotchi that I really love. It's so cute. I'm gonna take a picture of it for some reason. They evolve? Yeah! Tamagotchis grow up every day. So the way that... You are purple! This guy's purple too! He's like a light purple though. Like kind of like lavender. Yeah, Tamagotchis first are eggs, and then in, I believe, 60 seconds, they hatch into a baby, and then you have to take care of the baby pretty consistently for an hour, and then after an hour it evolves into a kid, and then it's a kid for the rest of the day, and then the next day it eventually evolves into a teen? Or is it a toddler? Maybe it's a toddler and... No. Yeah, no. Yes. It evolves into a kid, and then it evolves into a teen. Mine's a teen right now, and then it evolves into an adult. Every other day. So it takes 3 days for it to completely evolve, I believe. Juice purple guy confirmed? Oh, dang. Hi, John. Okay, let's keep going. Leafpaw thought she detected a flash of guilt in the older cat's eyes, but there was still a challenge in his voice as he meowed. Then why have you come here with so many warriors? Don't be absurd, Tallstar, Firestar growled. I haven't enough warriors to take on your whole clan. We want to talk to you, that's all. WindClan have been stealing prey from ThunderClan territory, and you know as well as I do that that's against the warrior code. Tallstar looked taken aback, as if he genuinely hadn't known that his warriors were up to. Before he could reply, his deputy Mudclaw called out, Prove it! Prove that WindClan had stolen so much as a sniff of prey. What? Leafpaw saw Graystripe's whole body stiffen. We saw you ourselves just now, and we found prey bones reeking of WindClan scent. So you say. Mudclaw sneered. Thank you for the follow, Luke. Where was I? If you ask me, it's just an excuse to attack us. Furious, Graystripe launched himself across the border in his claws reaching out as he bowled over the WindClan deputy. Mudclaw let out a screech, and the two cats rolled on the short moorland grass. Tallstar gazed down at the two battling warriors with a look of contempt, as if he had found maggots in his fresh kill. Warriors on both sides were poised to spring, their teeth bared in the light of battle in their eyes. Leafpaw's heart began to beat faster as she tried to remember the fighting moves her mentor had taught her. Firestar stepped forward with a fierce hiss. Stop! At once, Graystripe broke away from Mudclaw's raking claws and stood back, breathing heavily. Mudclaw scrambled to his paws and glared at him. Graystripe, I told you we are not here to fight, Firestar meowed. The deputy's yellow eyes were smoldering. But did you hear the lies he told? Yes, but that doesn't change my orders. Get back into our side of the border. Now. His tail twitching angrily, Graystripe obeyed. Leafpaw understood how he must feel, especially when he was still worrying about his missing children. But she could also guess how uncomfortable it must be for Firestar when his friend and deputy disobeyed in a direct order, and in full view of WindClan. She stifled a sigh. Was this part of being a medicine cat? To understand every cat so clearly, you want to sympathize with them all? She's an empath, guys. Cinderpelt limped forward to stand beside Firestar. You know that medicine cats do not lie, she meowed to Tallstar. You know, too, that it is not the will of StarClan for warriors to trespass on the territory of other clans and steal their prey. And is this the will of StarClan for my clan to starve? Tallstar asked bitterly. Yesterday, one of our elders died, and he will be the first of many if we don't do something. If we could help you, we would, Cinderpelt replied with feeling. But ThunderClan is short in prey, too. The whole forest is suffering because of the two legs. I think we should work together, Firestar added. I swear to you by StarClan that if ThunderClan finds an answer to these problems, we will share it with WindClan. Tallstar met his gaze with a long, thoughtful look, his bitterness drying away and leaving deep sorrow behind him. Don't know what means. An answer, Firestar. I don't think that even you can find an answer to our troubles, unless you let us hunt in your territory. Even while he was speaking, he shook his head to show Firestar he did not make that suggestion seriously. No, you are right to keep your own prey. The warrior code demands that you feed your own clan first. WindClan does not look to find your help. Firestar dipped his head to the WindClan leader. Tallstar, we promise you that ThunderClan has not lied to you. There will be no fighting now, but if the prey stealing doesn't stop, you know what to expect. Oh, an empath. It's like someone who feels the same way as another person feels. Like if they're close. So like if someone's feeling sad, then you're empathetic to them. And then you also feel sad. Like you can empathize with them, like you can put yourselves in their shoes and really feel it. Sympathetic means that you feel sorry for them. You don't necessarily put yourselves in their shoes and feel their sadness, but you do feel sad on their behalf. Or feel anything on their behalf. Mm-hmm. He turned and walked away, gesturing with his tail for warriors to follow him. As they withdrew, yowls of derision rose from the WindClan warriors, as if they fought a battle and driven invaders away from their territory. Leafpaw felt her neck for a rise, half expecting the rival clan to pursue them like the warriors had pursued her and Sorreltail a few days before. But the sound died away behind them as Firestar led the way to the top of the hollow with the 4 trees and down the slope towards the stream. Why didn't we fight it out? Dustbelt demanded. We could have taught them a lesson and they wouldn't forget in a hurry. Hello. I'm reading Warrior Cats. I know, Firestar sighed, but as I said before, the clans cannot afford to turn on one another. And when our patrol catch Wind Clan stealing prey again? Dustpelt's tail twitched. He was short-tempered at the best of times, and Leafpaw knew how anxious he was about Fern Cloud and their kits. We'll see them off if we catch them trespassing, Firestar promised, but let's pray to StarClan that Tallstar sees sense and keeps his warriors on their own territory. I don't think he knew what was going on until today. Maybe not, but I'll back his own warriors now. Dustpelt paused, his brown tabby fur bristling as if he could see the enemy in front of him. Why don't you go and hunt for a bit? Firestar suggested. See if you can find a bit of fresh kill for Ferncloud. Dustpelt glanced to him, his neck fur beginning to relax. Okay, I will. In a reluctant growl, he added, thanks. Swiftly, he turned and disappeared into the thicker vegetation beside the stream. Like the Cats movie. Cats movie. Oh, not the Cats movie, like the musical Cats. It's a series, you can see it right here. This is the book that we're reading. Warriors. The New Prophecy, Moonrise. This is the second book of the second series. So coming in now, it could be a little confusing, but you can pick it up as you listen. It's a very nostalgic book for a lot of people. And also a very, like a book that a lot of people know about, but they didn't get a chance to read when they were kids. So I'm reading it to you. Don't worry about it. I'm just reading some books. Okay, let me continue. I bet it turns into... I bet they have a translation in German. Like a translated version? They do stuff. Stuff. Where was I? Lots of death. Although not yet. We haven't had very much death so far. Hi, Hans! For now. Firestar watched him go, his expression full of sorrow. Leafbug could hardly bear to see his frustration and hopelessness. She knew he would never give up, not before the monsters had destroyed every last tree in the forest. But it looked like the time when it might happen was drawing near. And what would Firestar do then? As she followed him across the stream towards the ThunderClan camp, she struggled yet again with the guilt she felt about not telling her father what she knew about Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw. Perhaps now was the time to speak up, to relieve some of his anxieties about them, to assure him that StarClan knew about the suffering in the forest and had their own plan to leave it. But what would Firestar say to her when she had kept silent for so long? Leafpaw shrank at the thought of his anger. Seeing that Cinderpelt had dropped a little way behind the other cats, she wondered if her mentor might have the answer. She could tell Cinderpelt the medicine cat would understand, and perhaps help her to pass the news on to Firestar. Leafpaw waited for her mentor to catch up to her. Cinderpelt, she began, anticipating the medicine cat's usual sensible, no-nonsense advice. But when Cinderpelt turned to her, her blue eyes were clouded with pain. I've heard nothing from StarClan, she mewed without giving Leafpaw a chance to speak first. Have they abandoned us? Can't be their will for the Two Legs to destroy us all. As if to empathize with her desperation, the roar of the two-legged monsters thundered in the distance. Though she couldn't see them from here, Leafpaw could picture all too clearly the garish, glittering pelts and the vast black paws that tore up the forest as easily as Dustbelt's claws had torn the grass moments before. It shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be there. Don't redeem it. Don't redeem it. She brushed comfortably against her mentor. Suppose StarClan spoke to us in another way, she suggested, feeling her heart begin to pound. The whole forest was turned upside down. If apprentices knew about prophecies that had not been sent to older cats. What other way? They haven't sent me a single dream or sign. They might have sent it to another cat. To you? Cinderpelt rounded on Leafpaw with her blue eyes blazing. Have they? No, but... No. StarClan are silent. Cinderpelt's brief flash of energy vanished and her tail drooped. They must want something from us. But what? Leafpaw found it impossible to go on. Perhaps this wasn't the right time to speak after all. How would Cinderpelt feel if she found out that StarClan had chosen to speak to inexperienced warriors and send them on a journey instead of the medicine cats? She felt so lonely and confused that she instinctively tried to reach out to Squirrelpaw and share her sister's thoughts, but she found no comfort there. All she could sense was darkness and the noise of rushing water. Leafpaw, are you coming? With a jump, Leafpaw realized that Cinderpelt was several tail lengths ahead of her. Sorry, she called back and plodded on at the rear of the patrol, her head bowed down by her fears for StarClan's chosen cats and for all the forest. And, most of all, for Squirrelpaw, wherever she was. Alright, we'll stop for now. 20 minutes before... wait, let me see how long this chapter is. Okay, this is a long chapter, never mind. The heck, why is that chapter so long? Oh, we only got 50 pages today. Alas, that means that we might have to do 4 streams for Moonrise. Blah, 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 blah. No French today. Actually, you could redeem it while I'm doing my collab later today. The collab starts at 6. So I guess I'll see you guys at 6. Yeah. With the collabs today? Yeah. Something going on today? Yeah. At 6 o'clock, we're doing another stream. Yeah. Celeste will have no idea what she is saying. Oh no, I'm not gonna sleep tonight. I'll have a vague idea maybe. Does the other person not know French either? Or do they know French? Ah, I am streaming again. We're playing Dead by Daylight with me, Peachy, Cordy, Celeste, and Night Kit? I'm not sure what their name is. The boringness of your night. Silly goose. Night Sky Kit is Celeste. Oh, wait, then who's the other one? 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 Where are you, Christmas? Why can't I find you? Ah, okay. A bot, huh? My world is changing. I'm rearranging. Does that mean Christmas is changing too? Okay. That will be in about an hour and 15 minutes. Looping. What's looping mean? An hour and 15 minutes. Yes. I'm zoning out right now, guys. Zoning out. Where am I? I don't know. Oh, okay, I'm back. Oh! What time is it? An hour and 15 minutes from now. An hour and 15 minutes. 6 o'clock p.m. PST. Okay! I'm gonna end now. I'm not gonna raid anybody. You guys are stuck here. Alright.